Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Langford, and I'd like to thank you for the invitation to share some of the history of our family. The Langford family can be traced back to the Middle Ages, where our relatives were spread across 7 counties of the English countryside. Some of my early ancestors served as junior officers in Cromwell's army during the invasion of Scotland in 1650. During this same time period, in the 1600s, Langford descendants appeared in Ireland. Some settled in the region of Mount Mellick in Queens County, a farm known as Avolia. Langford family members still reside on the farm to this day. That shows a picture of where it is approximately. Limerick is way down on the left, and Dublin is up on the right, so it's kind of in between. That's where one of my cousins lives on the home farm, the other one lives down near Limerick. Sir Roger Langford and Sir Hercules Langford were both army captains who were knighted in Ireland in the early 1600s. A decade after the Napoleonic Wars saw growing political and economic and social turmoil. That drove many adult Langfords and their families to Canada for fresh opportunity. Between 1819 and 1832, at least 5 Langford families immigrated to Upper Canada, with some heading to the forks of the Thames to settle the township of London. My direct ancestors were Isaac and Maria Langford, who, with a full family of 6 sons and 3 daughters, decided to follow the call of their relatives and set sail for the new frontier in 1832. Sadly, during their 3-month journey, both parents and their baby girl were buried at sea after contracting cholera. Isaac and Maria's surviving 8 children, who arrived as orphans, suffered another tragedy after disembarking the ship in Quebec. A man approached the eldest son, Joseph, offering to retrieve all their trunks, including a large quantity of gold coins, so that the 19-year-old could stay and care for his 7 siblings, the youngest just being 2. The thief took the storage ticket, claimed all their worldly possessions, and never came back. Somehow the children made the long and difficult journey from Quebec to Hamilton, where they're able to get word of their plight to their Uncle Thomas in London, Ontario. On hearing the news, he rigged an ox-drawn cart and made the journey to rescue the orphaned family. Uncle Tom took them home and raised them as his own. So that's, okay, so 9 years later, the eldest female of the 8 orphans, Elizabeth, or Betsy as she was called, married her cousin known as Big Isaac. Isaac and Betsy had 11 children. Before relocating to Muskoka, where they pioneered near Bracebridge. They managed to eke out a living farming the rocky terrain. It's the farmhouse up in Bracebridge. In 1873, Isaac, who was 54, passed away from blood poisoning 2 weeks after cutting himself on a piece of steel. Isaac was buried on a hill in the family cemetery. Buried a site for many family members and other pioneer neighbors settled nearby. It is still known today as the Langford Cemetery. Before Betsy passed away in 1915, she had lost 4 children and 5 grandchildren. Many are buried on that site. Pioneer life held many hardships and heartbreaks, but despite the challenges, the family survived and grew. One of Isaac and Betty's sons, George, married Elizabeth Westman. She later gave birth to my great-great-grandfather, also named George. He passed away when he was 36, leaving his wife Catherine with a daughter, Mabel, and my grandfather, William Alexander, who was just 2 at the time. My grandfather, William, loved the land and remained on the home farm in Agila until he married my grandmother in March of 1919. In 1920, they purchased a 100-acre farm on the north side of 88 from Mr. Frank Perkins. The young couple moved to the 1800s farmhouse in 1921, where they raised their family. Grandma and Grandpa welcomed 3 children, 1 daughter, Dorothy, and 2 sons, Keith, my dad, and Stuart. Sadly, Dorothy passed away at 3 months old from the influenza epidemic that ravaged the country after World War I. Bradford was a small village in those days with a population of less than 1,000 people. Their farmhouse on 88 was well out of town on a rough country road. Grandma paid the taxes on the farm with money she made from selling eggs. Uncle Stuart and Aunt Ruth moved into the farmhouse with Grandma and Grandpa following their wedding in 1953. They welcomed 3 children, Judy, Jane, and Paul. And for the next 14 years, they shared the joys and challenges of farm life. Then in November of 1967, Grandma and Grandpa moved into town. Grandpa loved being able to walk to the stores on Holland Street, but he didn't get to enjoy his home for very long. The following year, he had a fatal heart attack while hanging Christmas lights. Grandma would enjoy her little house on John Street until she passed away in 1989. She was just short of her 99th birthday. Uncle Stuart, Aunt Ruth, and Paul actively farmed the property until 2005, when the farm was sold to Great Gulf Homes. In the spring of 2006, the farmhouse and barn were demolished. The Holland Street traffic lights at Pharma Plus is the approximate location of the farm's original driveway, and a portion of Langford Boulevard runs close to the western property line. The houses of Summerlin Estates are built on what was the original Langford farm on 88. Uncle Stuart and Aunt Ruth built a bungalow on the 10th line, 100 acres bought by my grandparents in May of 1951 from Reginald Bowles. They enjoyed their new home until they passed away, Uncle Stuart in March of 2012, and Aunt Ruth in July 2019. This is the farm where my cousin Paul still farms and works today. My parents, Keith and Ella, purchased the farm on the corner of Middletown and 88, so that's the southwest corner of that intersection, from my grandparents, and settled there after they were married in July of 1948. I was their firstborn, arriving on Christmas Day in 1951. So now you get 1 present with 2 cards. They would be blessed with 3 more children, Peter, Donald, and David. Life was busy in those early days, and when it came time to start school, Dad and I had something in common. My father, Keith, and I attended the one-room schoolhouse, SS number 6 on Middleton Side Road. Dad was in Miss Breeden's Dad was in Miss Breeden's first classroom when she started her teaching career, and I was a student in her class the last year before she retired. Tragically struck our family in 1962 when my brother Peter was hit and killed by a drunk driver when he was walking home from our grandparents' farm. He was 9. Life was never the same, but through faith and support, family, friends, and neighbors, we made it through. A side note, the following year, my mother and father donated a trophy in memory of Peter at Sir William Ulster Public School for the boys' junior field day winner. Our former mayor, Rob Keffer, was the first recipient of that trophy. Eventually more acreage was added to the farm and life became busier as Dad became involved in local politics. Starting with a position on the West Glenberry Municipal Council, he later served as Deputy Reeve, then Reeve of the township. Dad also served on many committees at Simcoe County Council in the mid-60s. My dad, Keith, was 55 when he passed away from cancer in December of 1981, leaving my mom and 2 brothers to run the farm. Donald and David continued to share the farming operations over the next few years. In 1985, Donald and my mother bought a 100-acre farm at Fisher's Corners. A piece of property was granted from the Crown to the Fisher family in 1833. In 1986, Donnie and Sandra moved into the 1860s farmhouse where they raised Brian, Sarah, and Chris. Donald is still actively farming and trucking, often hauling loads of grain into Hamilton and other parts of Ontario. In 1992, my youngest brother David married Michelle, a farm girl from Drayton. My mother Ella relocated to John Street to give the newlyweds their space. She settled into the little house that my grandparents occupied when they moved off the farm in 1967. Mom continued her volunteer work in the community from her bungalow in town. She was a life member of the United Church Women, the IODE, Tech-Will Institute, and a 50-year volunteer driver for the Canadian Cancer Society. Mom golfed, curled, played bridge, and belonged to the senior clubs. Needless to say, she was never home. My mom, Ella, was 89 when she passed away peacefully at home in May of 2015. David and Michelle settled into the farmhouse where they raised their 4 children, Jessica, Brandon, Weston, and Owen, and they worked hard over the years expanding the farming operation, building large silos and storage bins that became the foundation of Langford Grain. The farm became an icon landmark that could be seen for miles. If you're a resident of Bradford, spotted the flashing light on the huge leg of the silo while driving on the 400, meant you're almost home. Many of you will remember those towering silos with beautiful maple trees that lined the driveway and lovely fields of yellow canola that occasionally surrounded the house.
Yeah.
David's family relocated to a farm in Ivy, and in 2022 the house and barn were taken down and the elevators dismantled. They said that farming is in your blood, and through my research I found this to be true. It started with our ancestors hundreds of years ago and continues to the present day. My 2 brothers, Donnie and David, and my cousin Paul still actively farm hundreds of acres. Property previously owned by Donnie is the site of the new Presbyterian Church and the Eldon Retirement Home on Middletown. Holy Martyrs Cemetery on the 9th line occupies land severed from Paul's farm. As for me, I made my decision in 1970 to leave the farm to pursue a career in funeral director and paramedic. That is the 1967 Pontiac Bonneville.
It looks like a Ghostbusters.
Some people the Ghostbusters car. Yeah. And it was quite a piece of thing to work in, but quite iconic to the Bradford area. Yeah. My ambulance career in Simcoe County spanned 46 years, and my funeral home work continues to this present day. Bradford is where Maria and I raised our 2 boys, Craig and Christopher, and we're proud to say that our youngest son, Chris, and our nephew, Weston, served the Bradford community as full-time firefighters. Before I retired, one of the greatest joys was working with my son, Chris, when we would both respond to the same call. So he always gave me the elbow and told me to get out of the way because he was like, I said, yeah, go for it. The Langford family can be rooted in Bradford's history for over 100 years. And it was we watched the younger generations grow their families. We're hopeful that our descendants will be there for many years to come. Thank you.
Any questions for Bill?
Ella was a member of the Women's Institute.
I beg pardon?
Ella was a member of the Women's
Yes,
Institute.
yeah. She was,
I remember we worked in the kitchen together.
yeah, she,
10 years ago, right?
yeah, Grant, it was the 16th of May,
Yeah.
Mom passed away. Yeah, she was always busy. Well, Grandma Langford was, they're all the same. Grandma Langford was very busy too, but you know, Mom, I remember Mom, Maria would work a lot of afternoons and nights and that, and I'd go down to visit Mom after dinner some night, and she'd sit there twitching away, and I said, and it's winter time, I said, did you have somewhere you wanted to go to? And she says, well, I was gonna go out and play cards. I said, okay. You know, me, winter, I'd stay at home, watch TV. She always, and many of you knew her, she always had to be on the go. So, and anyways, lots of memories of everything, and I hope that helped you a little bit long, but I guess at the picture of the monument there, they put a new monument up at the cemetery in Bracebridge there for Isaac, and they had a dedication a couple years ago, and it's still an active cemetery, and they ask all the families to donate a little bit to help offset the expenses of the cemetery. It's on, if you're ever up that way, it's very easy to find. You go to Bracebridge Highway 117 that goes to Baysville. As soon as you turn right, first intersection, you turn left, and it's right there. But to me, it was quite remarkable how they would farm that land up there, because as we know, you know, in Muskoka, it's, they grew rocks or something. Yeah.
I'm just struck by the depth of your research that you track all the way back. Is there how did you do it? All the way back.
There's a big volume, quite a thick book that some of that, I did not do all that research, but somebody in the family has
Tracked it.
yeah, and there's a big book that I was able to get the information. Yeah.
Maria was very helpful in getting this all ready. To say the least.
Question, one more question.
No, just a statement. I found it very interesting that your family came from Mount Mellick, Queens County, Ireland. In
Yeah.
September, I made a trip to Mount Mellick
Oh,
because my family, the Pringles, who settled up here on Highway 27 at 6th concession in 1820,
okay.
came from Mount Mellick, Queens
Oh,
County, Ireland.
wow. Yeah,
It was great.
Yeah.
yeah, it's great, yeah. Okay, thank you.